So I'm going to talk about the future role for HR and managers in the future of work, which I believe is called the Agile People Coach. So as I've been presented, I'm the founder of Agile People, and Agile People is a network of dedicated Agile People coaches around the world who are all passionate about combining people and Agile to create engagement. Thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why so few engage in it. And this is what Henry Ford said, and it says something about the way he viewed people. A few people in the top create structures of micromanagement that flows top down. And he divided people into workers and thinkers. So picture from a real Ford factory, people were a part of a machinery on this time. As the Taylorism was a theory of management that analyzed workflows. And today, of course, we don't split this, that some people work with their bodies and some people work with their heads, but we all, almost all of us, are knowledge workers, and everybody needs to use their head when we work. And we also, to a much larger degree, use the workers' heads today than what they did back in this time. How we view other people becomes the first and most important learning here. Douglas MacGregor wrote a book in the end of the 1950s. It's called The Human Side of the Enterprise. And in that book, he writes about theory X and theory Y. This is about the human mind and how it works and how we see other people. So we can either see people as X. That means that we see them as lazy and unmotivated and that they don't want to take responsibility. Or we can see them as Y people, that they want to be the best they can be. And they want to contribute to create value for other people. And they will do so also if they get the right conditions and the right prerequisites. So often we only see other people as X. So then you can ask yourself, is this just a prejudice that I have about other people? But if they really got the right conditions and structures, they would also be Y persons, just like I see myself. Because it's really about the system of work that we are providing to our employees. Do we believe in them? And do we set them up for success by providing a system where they can release their full human potential? Or do we set them up to fail by not giving them the opportunity to do what they do best every day, not removing impediments for performing, and not giving them the resources that they need to succeed? Why is this important? This is important because how we view people affects how we structure our management processes. It all starts with how we view other people and what kind of structures we believe that we need to build to set them up for success, or rather maybe the lack of structures. Another example of how the X view of people played out in history. This time we go to the ironing department. And today these women are replaced with robots. Their work was about doing the same thing over and over again. So the challenge here was to make the flows as effective as possible and to standardize processes. The women on this picture had no say in how things should be done. It was all carefully thought out by a few men in the top. They were just doing what they were told. If we instead move to the future of work in the current situation, this is the transition that we see will happen. And it has already started and has been speeded up by the pandemic in the world. Artificial intelligence and robots will ultimately actually create more work, not less work. And the majority of the workforce will freelance by 2027 and be their own boss. There won't be a shortage of jobs, but if we don't take the right steps, there will be a shortage of the skills that we need to fill the future jobs. And as we already have seen speeding up a lot now the last 6 months, remote work becomes the norm. People will have a new geographic freedom to live where they want and work from home or from other places. In this complex reality, we have to move from viewing the organization as a machine that can be controlled and managed to viewing it as a social system. People are not cogs in a machinery. They have feelings, dreams, challenges, and thoughts, and cannot be controlled. People are not robots. They are complex adaptive systems that work from intrinsic motivation. And it means that we need to stop to see people as resources and view them as the living organisms that they are, who we need to treat differently to work optimally. No standardization, no boxing people with labels or grades anymore, just skills to understand better what makes each person do what they do, what motivates each person. To create this well-functioning social system is a very complex task, and we need to use a lot more experimentation and trial and error for it to work. There are no recipes for success here, and Agile is not the silver bullet. What do you need to do to make a person function optimally? Care about the psychological needs, and they are different for everybody. I want to move into some of the problems that we see today in traditional organizations. The first one is a big problem. We believe that we can control reality and make a perfect plan, but reality looks very different. So the problem is that the world is not predictable anymore, and we need feedback regularly from reality to make the right choices along the way. So instead of making a perfect plan that we already know before it starts will not happen, you could say that in Agile, you accept reality as it is, and you experiment and try different things and adapt to it. We're focusing too much on the shareholder value when we should instead focus first on the customer value and the employee satisfaction. Happy employees serve customers, and happy customers will lay the foundation for a profitable organization that can deliver value to the shareholders. But this is a consequence of the value creation happening between employees and customers. Evan Leborn always say that you're not in business to make money. I think that is a great expression. You are actually in business to create value for a customer, and it could be an internal or external customer. And when you focus on the value creation, profit will be a consequence. So value comes first, profit follows. Like Frederick Laloux so nicely puts it in his book, Reinventing Organizations, profit is like the air we breathe. We need air to live, but we don't live to breathe. So we need profit to survive, but that's not the reason why we run the company. The reason is to create value for some customer. We have other problems. Managers are feeling a lack of psychological safety in Agile transformation programs. What happens to me and my roles when everything is changing and when everybody seems to be able to manage and lead themselves? What will happen to my role in the future of work? So we don't want to get rid of the managers. We want them to be servant coaching leaders. But it's very difficult to, at the same time, when you have built up a structure and you have been a very ambitious driving person who has used your power and status need to get where you are today. And in the future, these are not the qualities of great leaders. It totally changes when the old paradigm changes. And we need a different kind of leadership in the future. There are other problems. Our organizational system is not making it easy for us to perform. Instead, the system is limiting us. The structures are putting obstacles in the way for great performance and letting people be themselves and perform from their abilities. So we need to fix this system. Something about control as well. The definition here is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or the course of events. But what does this mean? It means in business terms that we want to control people and we want to try to control the future. But we know that this is not possible. This is just a grand illusion. People can and must be managed, and that the future is predictable and manageable. That's just a nice dream that we have. So we have some problems with the annual budget process. It starts really with the annual budgets. It's a very time-consuming process where leaders spend months every year trying to predict the future and control the future. Assumptions that we make here in this process are very quickly outdated. They are actually old. The minute we click the enter key and we say now the budget is ready. The next second, the budget is outdated. It stimulates unethical behaviors like competition, political exercises, and brown nosing. It creates illusions of control, but we don't really have control. We don't know what is going to happen next year. Look at the pandemic. Decisions are made too early and often too high up in the organization, and it guarantees that we have planned costs because, everybody want to use the budget that they get for the year, because otherwise I will get a lower budget next year. But it doesn't guarantee that we have planned revenues, obviously. And it can also prevent other value adding activities that we could have spent time on if we didn't have that fixed annual budget. Have you heard it before? There is no budget for it, therefore we cannot do it. There is a problem with traditional performance processes. This is a normal process for a very common performance management model from a traditional company. And the underlying assumptions here are that someone who does not perform the work knows better. And employees are all motivated by money and rewards, and that one tool fits all. So what are the problems with this performance rating that we are engaging in yearly? Well, a year is too long. When the organizational reality changes quickly. There is no proactivity here. We are focusing on judging the past. And are there other people than my manager who knows better how I have performed? Also, it's connected to salary, which leads to sandbagging and lower set goals. And sub-optimizing effects breed competition, not cooperation. And yet we say that collaboration is what we need more. So we have a structure that goes against the values that we say we want. I call this the structure culture misfit in my trainings. We're focusing here on the wrong things, just results and not the good behaviors that we need. We need to help each other, support each other, and collaborate towards common goals, not competing against each other for this next position or climbing the career ladder or getting a higher paycheck. The employee engagement is the next problem I want to bring up. The vast majority of our workplaces are not great places to work, very far from it. And here you see what it looks like in the world. But the potential here is the gray bar in the middle, the sleepwalkers, the ones that are doing their jobs, but not feeling passion and engagement to come to work. Here, if you can increase engagement, maybe just 1%, it would make a massive effect on the bottom line. So what should we do instead? What should we do about all these problems? People ask me all the time, and I actually have some ideas. And one of the ideas has to do with a new role that leaders and HR need to take for the future of work, the Agile People Coach. This is a new role that more and more people discover, and we created it because we believe it will be crucial for HR and leaders to change their role fundamentally to support their organizations and the people to be able to increase agility in all corners of the company. The Agile People Coach is a role where you use many competencies and become more T-shaped depending on where you come from. You can come from HR leadership or an Agile coach role. So what is the difference between an Agile coach and an Agile People Coach? Well, in Agile organization, a leader is responsible only in one area, either people, product, technology, or process. Agile People Coaches coach the people in all areas to improve value and flow continuously. And the people skills become extremely important here. Instead of process, we are more focusing on psychology, on sociology, on relationship handling, etc. These are the skills that become more important. So a little bit of an overview of how HR needs to change. Instead of focusing on execution, order, and control, HR needs to focus on adaptability, innovation, and speed. And HR should be leading the change because HR is in charge of all the deep structures like change management, organizational development, leadership development, talent acquisition, and performance management. So HR can support or hinder the change towards a more agile organization, and that's why HR needs to go first. Instead of closing people into job descriptions and putting labels on them, we need to see the job description as our main role, where we start from, and then we can become more and more T-shaped, being great at one or several things, and then building on our broad general base. This creates flexibility for individuals, for teams, and for organizations. What about agile leadership? Well, here we move from managing performance, where we tell people exactly what to do, to enable performance. And the CEO becomes the chief enabling officer. The gardener metaphor is the best metaphor for agile leadership, in my opinion. And in this metaphor, the company is a garden with a lot of different plants that need different care because everybody's different. And you cannot scream or control the plant. You can only create the right prerequisites in the system of the garden so that they will become big and beautiful and grow together with all the other plants and fulfill the purpose of the whole garden. So the leader here is obviously the gardener. Here is the new framework for Agile people coaching. It's built on Lisa Adkins' framework for Agile coaching, but we decided that the Agile people coach also needs to be able to take on additional roles. We can only change organizations by removing the limiting structures together. We cannot do it alone. To be able to remove limiting structures and start collaborating towards more agile future, we need to join forces, all of us. HR cannot do it alone, leaders cannot do it alone. We need everybody to start talking across boundaries of different kinds, starting the conversation, nudging the system and the people, and move in a common direction together. When we work with Agile, we don't follow any recipes. There are no recipes or best solutions that always work. But having said that, I'm going to give you a small recipe. We start by changing the limiting structures, which mainly come from finance and HR. And we start to show the new behaviors that come from learning new ways of working when we add supporting structures like Agile and Lean methods, models, and tools. And then we repeat from one again because structures have a tendency to creep back on us. We in Agile People put together a manifesto to support you to understand how the move needs to look like. We came together in 2019 during 4 intensive days in my summer house on the west coast of Sweden. And this is the result. This is our gift to you. And with this, I'm just going to give a last shout out to you. Start today. Follow the principles and start your personal and organizational learning journey towards greater people and business agility. The sooner you start, the sooner you will reap the benefits from happy performing people working together towards a common vision. So we invite you to join Agile People, join us in an online training, or become an Agile People coach yourself. My next training starts on January 11, 2021. And to know more about Agile People, visit agilepeople.com. And with that, I give back the word to the hosts. Thank you very much for listening.